like this whole concept that Howard Thurman has about stretching and the demands of religion or your faith path, stretching. I usually take Gumby when I'm practicing reflection and stretching and pulling. But, Gumby returns back to, shape and form. And I liked Gumby when I was a kid. And I think part of what we've done with Dr. Leon and Dr. Yobo and Dr. Michael is try to stretch you. Some of you are a little more pliable than others. Some of you can be stretched, but you will leave this process stretched, hopefully. Another thing you should have is a good wife that's always looking out for you. So you should leave this process stretched. And part of the stretching will be our job, and the majority of it will be your job. There is a religious symbol. I left that problem too. I actually have it as a tattoo. And some people say it's a Masonic symbol, but it's just an ancient symbol. It's a circle with a dot in it. And that's you, representing you within God. I think the Hindus call that a bindi or bindi. Yeah. And you have to stretch out towards God. And that stretching occurs internally. And in the stretching that we tried to do with you all this weekend, Gene asked a question, Dr. Leon, that seemed to stretch you all some. Why did I call God one source in my book, because I spent a lot of time thinking about the word God, and every faith tradition, every person has a God, and I'm not sure what that means, but for me, it's one source of all creation. That's very clear. It fits my personal theology and how God has been revealed to me in my association with God. And this question does foster deep reflection. I think it makes you think. So not to stretch you anymore this week, and I'm going to ask you some more questions. Just questions to make you think and reflect some more. So to keep this trend going, and it's fun to be an interfaith minister because we can have so much more fun than the ministers from other faith traditions because we can choose from a million books, a million sacred texts. We could even use poetry, we could use a whole lot of stuff. But a Christian minister has to, week in, week out, take the same text, breathe new life into it. I'm sure Islam as well, but we can choose a million things. And I normally choose from many different things, but this morning I'm going to talk to you based on some questions by Howard Thurman. And Howard Thurman said he was a Christian, but if you read him, you can see that he transcended that tradition, and he's a mystic, period. But his question relates really to this theme of beginnings. You have the new students here, and you're laying the foundation for your ministry. And you have the older students that are ordained, some of you, most of you, and are getting degrees, and you're adding to and strengthening your foundation. So now, given all that, I'm going to ask you another question, and it's really from Howard Thurman's 40-day journey. You read that, right, Perry? Yeah, you read that. And it's from the very first reading. And I've never really gone all the way through all 40 days because I keep getting stuck. And I'm like, what does he say? Somebody here, one of our students said that she gets stuck in one sentence of Howard Thurman's readings. But I've never gone through the 4 days, and every 40 days, and every Lent I try to do that. I think I end up like day 17, totally stuck. And spend the rest of Lent reflecting on that, But he opens with this quote, and it says, it's Jeremiah 17, verses 5 through 6. Cursed are those who trust in mere mortals and make their flesh their strength, make mere flesh their strength. They shall be like a shrub in the desert and shall not see when relief comes. That's a stark picture if you can visualize a shrub in the desert. It's by itself. It's scorched under the sun. It's not nourished. It's emaciated. It never reaches its full potential. So in this reading, let's take out the word, let's add the word minister. Cursed are the ministers who trust in mere mortals and make mere flesh their strength. They shall be like a shrub in the desert and not see when relief comes. Now, let's look at what I just expanded on. There was this bishop, Pentecostal bishop at the hospital center, John Sadler, is not here, and he would always say to me, "Brother Speights, I love your expansions," because he didn't like the fact that I could take Christian texts and put them in another context. It kind of make it work, you know. So you add the word minister to that, and it takes on a whole new meaning for us and what we're trying to do this weekend. And I'm going to ask yet another question. Can you be a minister standing alone and abandon your association with God and expect to have a successful and meaningful ministry? No. Now, Thurman draws another picture of a shrub. This time, picture the tree of life. Let's get that visual. Close your eyes for a minute. Think of the tree of life as I say this. And in this visual, he says, there's a tree planted by a stream. It blossoms under the sun. It grows to its full potential. It is nourished, and it forever bears fruit. Unlike the shrub in the desert, the tree of life, as you know, is firmly rooted in God and the interconnectedness of all of us, as our ministry should be. And we have to strengthen our ministry and our association with God by constant prayer and reflection and going within and turning within. That's what feeds your ministry. It's not the work that you do here with us. When you answered, and I don't use the word call, and this is a teachable moment here, but when you answered the urging to associate with God, you became a minister at that very point in time. All we do here at the seminary is it's like a finishing school, Gene and John, did you say that? We're helping you strengthen that association by challenging you with questions, and like Dr. Leon did. See, I wrote a lot of those questions, but I'm going to shift that over there. Good cop, bad cop. But it's finishing school. You are a minister. Speaking about this bishop at the hospital center, I saw him one day, and he would always tell me, "Brother Speights, I'm going to bring you fully back to Jesus Christ." And I would say, "Bishop, I never left Jesus Christ. I just have Jesus Christ my own way." And so I said, "But if you come to service this day," people used to show up for me, a lot, because I would always have something different to say, because I had these millions of books to choose from. And I even played Temptation songs in my sermons and made those work. But he came, he sat down, and I proudly announced, "Today I'm going to read from the Gospels of Jesus Christ." And he just puffed his chest out. He was so proud that he had brought me to Jesus Christ. And I picked up the book and I said, "The Aquarian Gospels of Jesus Christ." And the chest went back in. He's like, I didn't do my job. So, and what I read that day was from the Aquarian Gospels. And Christ went home to Nazareth, and head of the temple, having heard about him, of course, asked him to come and explain his ministry. And he didn't go. And he sent one of his assistants again to ask Christ to come, and he didn't go. And this went on through Christ's the duration of his visit there in Nazareth. And the head of the temple finally came to where Christ was and said, "Why did you not bid? Why did you not come when bid? Why did you not come when I bid you to come?" And Christ said, "My ministry comes from God and not man." You get what I'm saying here? So, we don't want you to be sheepish about your interfaith ministry. Some of the lessons that we try to instill through these questions are to give you confidence. The definition, to give you confidence. You don't want to use the term pastor, use it while you're here. I personally like being associated with that word. Pastor is shepherd. It means teacher. It means that you have a sacred duty and trust to a group of people, to a congregation. If you're a sacred activist, think of Martin Luther King. Somehow, some way, he would make it back to his father's church once a month, and everything with all that he was involved in, to do what? Stand in a pulpit. But if you're an activist, then you have a larger congregation. The world is your congregation. Every person that's in trouble and crying and in need of the attention of God, that's your congregation. But you have to be confident and go forward with this confidence, knowing that God chose to associate with you. Now, what didn't Christ say when the head of the temple spoke to him? He didn't say, well, I don't have to respond to you. I went to Jerusalem Divinity. I have a master's in divinity. I have a doctorate of ministry. I read all the great Hebrew prophets. That's depending on man for your ministry. What you have to do is go within and find God. The Pope said that we all have to live our lives based on our unique inherent laws, our internal laws. Who we are uniquely. God called you. And answer to the question, why did God choose to associate with you? Reverend Farmers, we used to say, it's that as you, as me, just as you are. Somehow God, one source, chose to look down at you and associate with you. And you have to figure out what that is, because you're already that. All these other things, they can strengthen it, but you have to figure out what it is. What did Reverend John say? He knew his worth. He knew his value. Amen? Amen?
Amen.
All right. Thank you.
One more time.
Amen.